I bought myself an entry-level scroll saw so that I could make some marquetry for an upcoming project. Unfortunately, entry-level scroll saws don't come with a stand, and I quickly found that using a scroll saw on the floor is a little bit uncomfortable. So I built myself a simple plywood stand with all the fancy features, like not having to sit on the floor. I don't really know how much plywood this used, because I had a whole bunch of weird offcuts from a failed project. Every failed project becomes a happy little tool stand, right? Some of the plywood had finish on it, and it bothered me enough to set off something in my brain that told me hand planing the plywood would be a good idea. These legs are glued up into really simple L shapes and overcomplicated with clamps and screws. These L shapes are super strong. To make the frame as stable as possible, despite the small footprint, the legs are splayed out at a 10-degree angle, which meant cutting the legs after glue up. While I have a nice miter saw, I'm not sure how well dialed in the angles are. Using a freshly cut piece of plywood, I made sure the table saw was set to the same angle, and this definitely has nothing to do with me losing my angle cube. The main body gets a freshly beveled piece glued onto it, using the back leg as a spacer. Clamping this up would be tricky because of the angle, but using an offcut of that angle as a shim, it's no big deal. The same trick with angled cawls can be used for the side wings on the front. With the main frame glued up, I can place it on what will become the top and trace it out. Because I don't trust my ability to pre-plan, I plonked the scroll saw on to make sure it would still fit between the lines, and because it did, I got to cutting. For now, the legs are just screwed onto the frame. This is the first time I've used a scroll saw, so I'm not sure if I want to have it a little bit higher or lower. I also know that Natalie wants to have a go with it, so her height difference needs to be taken into account. To help with the parallax issues, I'm raising the back of the saw up by about 7 degrees with a plywood shim. This means I can look down on the blade and call it all sorts of nasty names rather than treating it as an equal. The addition of the shim, the 7-degree shim, really makes this feel a lot more natural to be cutting at, much more over top of it rather than sort of looking down the line. It feels like this will be a lot easier to do scrolling with, but we'll see. The shim is just hot glued on, and there are some holes for bolts that go through the frame and through the saw to hold it all together. The frame is nice and lightweight, which is good and bad. If it was heavier, it would reduce vibration a little bit, but I can carry this around with one arm, so I can take it outside, which is where I imagine I'll be doing most of the scroll saw work in summer. I ended up buying a marquetry pack which had a whole bunch of these veneers, small pieces, some gorgeous red gum and jarrah, some other things that I don't know the name of, some she oak, I think it's she oak anyway, some other natives, some human pine, some really gorgeous stuff in here. But that'll be for the next video. Thanks for watching.